This stream is sponsored by IGK TAS, telemetry analysis system powered by IGK.
Hello everyone, welcome to TTML for some more action here from the F2 division, and this time it is time for the Temple of Speed. How will the drivers do around the historic Monza circuit? My name is Luke Etheridge. Joining me in the commentary box once again is Pepsi Freak. Pepsi, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We're going to have another good race presumably here like Bahrain last week. If you haven't seen it, go check up that real fast. Then you can watch the vlog of this one and find out what happened. That was a very chaotic race. And considering that turn one is very, very hard on the braking points, I feel like we're going to have another chaotic one here today. And I'm more than happy to see something, some good action here today.
Yeah, certainly. If you can't remember what happened last time out at the Bahrain Grand Prix, it was actually Cam who crossed the line in first position. However, he got a 10-second penalty for not having his TAS system set up, as did Axel, another driver who took the podium. So it ended up being Corwin Robb who took the victory. You might remember he had a 5-second penalty in the race for overtaking his teammate under a safety car. That got removed. He then got a 25-second penalty given by the game inexplicably at the end, and unsurprisingly that got removed as well. So he ended up taking the victory in the last race, and we'll show you what that's done to the, well, we'll go through the rest of the results as well with the driver standings. Nathan VD Burke, he's a reserve driver, second place he got in the last race. Zydemer was in third place, Sway in fourth, Emmy in fifth. So you can see the rest of the results there, judging by the championship standings. And we'll just quickly flash up the constructor standings for you as well to give you an idea which team is looking the best at this moment in time. Still, obviously, very early days, still plenty of rounds to go. And at this moment in time, it is Ferrari on the top, courtesy of the 30 points from Rob. AlphaTauri just 1 point behind. Haas, the only team, a bit like in real F1, unfortunately for them, the only team yet to score any points.
That indeed. The one thing I noticed about the standings and look at from the standings is that a lot, no offense to our current top drivers here, I don't want to show too much insult because Nathan's very fast, but something that's really catches my eye is that a lot of the fast drivers last round are now have either 0 points because of the penalties they got last race or they crashed out. So it's a situation where the dug's the hole, but it seems like some of the quicker drivers are now at 0 and some of the, I wouldn't say slower, but not as quick drivers are at the top. So there could be like a flux of power within round 5 or 6, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it all shakes out by the end.
Yeah, certainly. It is going to be very exciting, I think, to see how this season goes. There's the track that they're going around today, the Monza circuit. 5.8 kilometres, 3.6 miles. Quite a simple circuit. One of the more simple on the F1 calendar, but that doesn't mean it isn't exciting. Qualifying, though, is fairly important around here. DRS trains usually play a massive part in the way that the race will go.
That is correct. You saw it a couple years ago in qualifying when all of them were trying to get a tow, and then Leclerc got pulled because no one made it to the line in time, and they're all going to try to use each other to get themselves some tow. And if you have a friend in this race or a teammate in this race, it's definitely going to put you at more of an advantage than someone that sadly couldn't wrangle anyone in here today because of unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah, certainly. So we'll have to see how the drivers that are going to be here tonight manage to cope. As you said, we have unfortunately got a bit of a reduced field, but nonetheless, we should still get some absolutely, well, hopefully we're going to get ourselves some absolutely fantastic action. Won't be too long before we do get ourselves underway. We do just unfortunately seem to be having some slight technical difficulties here, actually getting things to show up properly on my end. So I do apologise for that. Hopefully it won't be too long and we will be able to get the race underway. Monza, as we said, always a good qualifying one-stop strategy, pretty much the norm around this circuit as well.
That is correct. The one-stop strategy is the ideal, softs to mediums, or if you're a little bit farther back, mediums to softs. But you're not going to see many drivers take, it's not like Bahrain or a track where there's more strategy options. Here, it's just one or nothing.
Yeah, certainly. It will pretty much, like you said, it will be one or nothing. Can't see drivers going for too many fascinating, too many fancy strategy options, I think we should say. Luckily, though, we are now able to head out onto the circuit. Drivers just about to get ready for their first qualifying laps. Interestingly, that a couple of cars look like they might be going for the medium tyres. You wouldn't expect that to be particularly fast in this qualifying session.
I think they're just trying to get used to the rubber of this track. Remember, we saw it last week too. I don't think they're going to get inside the top 10 with it, so they're just kind of getting a feel for the track, understanding what the mediums bring, so if they need them for a little bit later in the race, they know how to push and where to push. So I think it's more of just a strategy thing, as now County was the first one across the line, about to be, but he's coming in.
Yeah, so maybe perhaps invalidating his lap. We've seen drivers do that many times around this circuit. Who is going to be one of the first, though, to set a lap time? It is going to be Nathan reserving in the Alfa Romeo. So let's go on board with him around this historic Monza circuit. Over 100 years old now. I think still an extremely fast track, especially from the days of that 10-kilometre long oval. Braking hard into that first chicane, into the Rettifilio. Perhaps a bit deep into the first part, but managed to get a good exit. Climbing up through the gears now in the Alfa Romeo. Of course, Alfa Romeo historic winners of the first ever Formula 1 Italian Grand Prix. So Conti retires in the pit lane. He does have a qualifying ban, of course, so that will be why he is out of this session. Nice and clean from his teammate for tonight. Through the Voggia chicane and now into double right-handers of the Lesbos. A very slight banking in the first one, not as severe as the ones you're going to see at the Dutch Grand Prix this weekend. Coming through the second Lesbo now, the car just wanted to drift wide ever so slightly through the second part of that. Now heading downhill underneath that old banking last used in Formula 1 60 years ago into the Variante Ascari. Left, right, left. Looks fairly simple, very easy to get it wrong, especially if you hit that curb too much on the exit. And unsurprisingly, Nathan deciding that he's going to stay a long way away from that at this moment in time. Now just one corner left of Parabolica, and it is all about getting a good exit through here to try and get onto the throttle as early as possible. Just caught that inside curb, perhaps a bit more than you would like to. Heading towards the finish line. What lap is it going to be from Nathan? 119.157, first time on the board.
That is correct, by the way. I just want to say, I was looking up while you're doing your little rundown. Mazda is going to be 100-year-olds next year, May 19th, 1922. So if we're doing a race in next year, they will be 100 years old. But sadly, not yet. It's only 99. But look at the times here. We do got Carway Rob with 2 purple sectors, so maybe worth noting on him. And Tibos was also doing pretty fast as well, but sadly, it may not be enough for the pole run. Never mind. I guess I eat my words.
Yeah, he's just got up there for now. But like you said, Carwin Rob looking fairly good at the moment. He's faster in Sector 1 than Matt Tibos. He's down a tiny bit in Sector 2. So is this going to be good enough to get pole position? No, in the end, slots in between Matt and Nathan into that third place. Jarno's time not representative at this moment. Charlie Harris, he's invalidated his lap on the medium tyres, as has Tom. So unfortunately for both of them, kind of doubt they were going to set a competitive lap time on those tyres anyway, but now we will never really know.
Actually,
what
Tom
could
is
have been
still on the lap.
possible.
He is not validated, at least on my screen. So he's actually, his lap will count for him. But I will see actually how fast the mediums goes. If you have like Sector 1, I think it's Cowboy Rob going a bit slow, just calling it a lap. So here comes Tomid to the line here on the mediums. It's going to be a 124.343. That would be P4, but he's also put 2 laps on those mediums.
Yeah, putting a few extra laps on those mediums. Not sure that is something he'd have really wanted to do, if we're being perfectly honest. But there we go, 124.3. Just making sure he gets a time on the board, because we have only got 13 drivers. Let's not forget who are going to be setting a time at the moment. And it is possible to make mistakes around here. We do see it fairly often, if we're being honest.
Yeah, you can see he's going into 1. You can just, or the if we go into another corner here, if we go into Ascari 8, 9, 10, it's very easy to just cut a little bit on the inside or run a little wide, and there's lap done as Xumi goes over 118.994 in the Williams. So making George Rush a little bit proud in real life, dragging that Williams up the grid.
Yeah, not a bad performance whatsoever. We're on board with his teammate at the moment, who wasn't expecting too much going into tonight. He did say.
Yeah, no, his teammate was, I was going to say Neymar went P2, which is kind of he went pretty fast well. All very close. Sorry to cut you off there, but yeah, the Williams is going to come across the line here as well, and he's going to go P8.
P8, 119.7 though, on a set of the medium tyres, is not a bad lap time whatsoever. If he does choose to go onto the softs, we might see some pretty decent improvement from him later on. We'll have to wait and see. Sway now coming around the final couple of corners. Let's see what he can do in the Alpine. Finished, just trying to check where he was last week. Not 100% sure, to be perfectly honest. Got 4th place last week, 5th at this moment in time. So we'll have to see what he can do. And one driver who's making his debut tonight as a reserve is IFR Dress. He is in the Alpha Tauri. Just heading now to start his lap time. You can see a few yellow flags popping up there. Now, we've seen there Jarno, he's done 2 laps on his set of tyres. Tom's actually done 3 on that set of mediums. We talked a bit earlier about how it's light tyre wear around this circuit, so that's not really going to be a problem, whereas obviously last week at Bahrain, doing that was kind of ruining your first stint.
True, but it's still kind of like, why would you go in the mediums and then put 3 laps on them to the point where you'll probably be, by the end of it, on the same kind of strategy issues as the softs? It just feels like it defeats the purpose of going slower on the mediums than having, because you have to go longer in the run. So it just feels kind of redundant, if you will, but maybe the McLaren driver knows something that we don't, and maybe he's just kind of play head games where he's going to go on a set of softs within 10 minutes to go. Because he's already on 10th. If one more driver jumps him, like Charlie Haas or the new reserve driver Dreze, who just validated, can get another lap down and put a time down, he could easily jump him. And
he's not going to get a time in. He's got it wrong. First victim, I think, of that Ascavi curve. Thankfully for him, though, manages to keep it outside of the barriers.
That is correct. I did see on the screen he has no damage, or at least if he does have much, so he'll be fine. But he's going to probably shake his confidence a little bit, and it's going to cause him to be a little bit more wary going into Ascari in the future.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, shaking his bones up ever so slightly, hitting that curve into Ascari. You do see it happen quite often on this game. Drivers losing it at that point of the circuit. Nathan, though, going to be the first man who looks like he's going for another lap. 10 minutes to go. Matt Tibos fastest at the moment by 0.02 of a second from CPI Neymar. And when you consider how long this circuit is, that is not bad whatsoever. And in fact, Nathan, he's backed off on this lap and almost getting in the way of Charlie there.
Yeah, indeed. He almost got in the way of him there. Almost a little bit of a blocking there, but no harm, no foul. But probably Charlie's not going to be a little bit too thrilled about that.
Yeah, certainly.
As Charlie now just takes the corner very constructively and just bails on that lap. So he's even on a set of mediums. I think he's actually on a set of softs, my mistake. So a little bit of a head scratcher there, if you will.
Yeah, I think Charlie there deciding that he wants to take the old route around this circuit before all the chicanes were introduced into Formula 1 for safety reasons, of course. Matt Tibos, he's now just coming around that first corner, and this is one of those tracks, first season where the top 2 divisions are line only, so no traction control, no ABS. Coming out of that first chicane, you really do feel having no traction control, and especially with the handling on this game. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a few drivers maybe not spin it around completely, but have a few moments coming out of the Rettifilio.
I mean, we saw it last week in Bahrain, and Bahrain is a very technical track as well. You saw it in the Sim League as well, I commentated on. I saw it in the few other leagues as well that all did Bahrain. And you can see with no traction, little traction, they were fighting that car to make it work. So, especially now they can't have any traction whatsoever, you're definitely going to see some drivers have to really find the power. And yeah, you're going to see a couple squirrely moments going to Ascari in corner 1.
Yeah, certainly. Matt Tibos, though, he's... Oh, another victim of Ascari. Just hits that curb, goes across to the other side of the track, though. Taps the wall ever so slightly with the rear. Not sure if he got himself any damage with that, but such a shame for his lap. He was looking very good.
Yeah, according to Taz, there is no damage, so he should be all right. But yeah, that is just, again, a confidence shaker as well. But he does have a pole run at least, but he's only 2 temps up on Neymar Gaming, who just started a lap as well and has just validated, so a little bit of a commentator's curse there. But the Williams driver is also just behind Neymar and almost invalidated as well. So game on with 7 minutes to go here. Tibos is just going to have to shake it off. He will be going for another attempt at least, but whether or not this is going to be competitive or not is yet to be seen.
Yeah, we will have to see what the drivers can do. Scott Bugner just coming through to try and set another run at the moment. Gets a bit wild through the first Lesbo there. See how he can keep it nice and clean through the second one. 8th position at this moment in time, and I do believe he's actually the slowest person to have set their fast lap on the softs. XLTDV and Tom behind did theirs on a set of the medium tyres, and Scott's still not looking like he is improving at this moment in time. One man who is, though, XL Zeidemer, very quick in the first sector for him at 25.9. It was purple, but it has been bested by Matt Tibos, and he's still improving on his personal best. 6 thousandths up at the moment. Doesn't need to find too much time through the final couple of corners here if he wants to get himself onto that provisional front row of the grid, and maybe even provisional pole position. We'll see what it is going to be for the Williams driver, Exo Zeidemer, coming around the final corner. Now, had a pretty good run last week to get onto the podium. He's going to get himself a good chance this time around. Heads towards the finish line, fastest of everyone for now, because Matt Tibos is finding even more time on that second lap on the set of soft tyres. Purple in sector 1, went purple in sector 2. This is going to smash the pole position time. 1.5 tenths of a second. Matt Tibos takes provisional pole.
But the one thing worth noting is Tibos did that on 2-lap old softs that he also spun the tires on, while Zudima did it on 1-lap old softs. Now again, tire wear isn't as bad as other circuits around here, but that's still that 1-lap advantage will allow Zudima a little bit more of a strategy choice than Tibos. And I'm assuming Tibos may go out again because it's only a second set of softs, so I wouldn't be shocked if he goes out one more time to try to best that. But as you keep going up the grid, trying to best times, as Carboy Rob, I think just went P6 or AMG went P5, but it's still worth noting that as you go up the grid, you're just going to see times get harder and harder to beat, and trying to best your times and get on fresher tires is a little bit harder and harder to do.
Yeah, certainly. Well, we'll just have to wait and see how this is going to go for everyone in this session. It's not looking too bad for some of these drivers at the moment. Matt Tibos in the ideal position, obviously, on pole position as it stands.
Something worth noting right now is Tudiva just set a purple sector 1 in 10th, the other Williams driver, so something maybe to keep an eye on here. Maybe I just said I jinxed him, but remember, he did qualify in that set of mediums, if I'm not mistaken. Now he just validated, so a little bit of a jinx there. But I was going to say, though, he was on the mediums during the last run he did, and now he's on a set of softs, so he's going to be trying to put down best time on softs, it seems.
Yes.
As now Neymar goes fastest in the session. Now he's at 1:18.733.
Yeah, drivers here just doing these runs on a second set of tyres. This is it's very interesting indeed that we're seeing a lot of drivers attempt this tonight. We see it occasionally. I don't think I can quite remember a session where I've seen that many try and get these second runs out of these tyres, but about 5 minutes to go in this session, Neymar, Matt Tibos, Exidema, Yarno, your top 4, AMG in 5th, Charlie Harris goes up into 4th position. Another driver to get underneath that 1:19 barrier. At this moment in time, he'll be hoping for a good performance. Both Red Bulls struggled slightly last week, but he failed to finish. Scott managed to come home in 10th place after all was said and done with that late safety car, of course. And we've still got TBB yet to set a clean lap on the softs, Tom yet to do a lap on the softs, and we still really don't know what Dress can do. So a few drivers, a few unknowns further down the grid.
Yeah, indeed. I'm looking sometimes. I think Zeke could definitely get into that low 119, and maybe even the high 118 range. I wouldn't be shocked. So Nathan's one of the few drivers currently doing a competitive lap this time with about 4 minutes to go. It's about 1:19 around a lap here, so this is probably end of qualifying for Nathan here. He's going to take the fresh track here and try to set a time, which is a little bit on the shocking side because considering how Slipstream and just getting the draft off someone is a lot more stronger than just being single car runs. It's kind of interesting to see that Nathan's taking it alone and would rather take a clean track over the extra toe down the straights.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, of course, he can't get a toe off his teammate for tonight, Conte, who has got that qualifying ban for blocking in qualifying. But yeah, this is one of the circuits where, because of the lower downforce, dirty air doesn't really have as much of an effect. It's only really the Lesmos and perhaps Ascari where you do see it happening and do really start getting into some trouble. It's not affecting him though now. At this moment in time, about a quarter of a second up, so this is good challenge for that second row of the grid. Bit wild through Ascari, but seems to have got away with it through there. Now coming into the final corner, the Parabolica, going to be renamed after Michele Alboreto, who sadly passed away 20 years ago in an accident in an Audi sports car. So we'll see what Nathan can do here as he heads towards the finish line. Is he going to get into the 118s? Just misses out in the end. I think that a mistake of Ascari did cost him ever so slightly. 119.0 for him. If he's got enough fuel, though, might be tempted to go for another one. And there's your answer to that.
Well, never mind. Decided not to lift there. Took the old route. No corner. Just going to go straight for it. But, yeah, I was going to say he was going full throttle, so it looked like he was just going to try one more attempt at it. But sadly, he has called it a session here. But he won't have enough time to get back and switch tires. So highest Nathan will probably go is P6. As we do see Tibos going out for his final run as well. He's now officially leaving, so he'll be going out for his final run as well.
Yeah, drivers getting prepared for their final runs. One of those who's going out a bit earlier is Tom, of course, on that set of soft tyres. First time we've seen him on those in this session. Green in for Sector 1, green in Sector 2, the bare minimum that you'd expect, really. Looks as though this isn't going to really challenge those at the top end of the grid. The sole McLaren runner tonight. We'll see what kind of performance he can put in. Finished 11th last time around at the Bahrain Grand Prix, so hoping to get a really good result to maybe kickstart his season ever so slightly. Tom heads towards the finish line, and it is going to be 119.258. Does put him in that 10th place for now. We really are getting towards the business end of this qualifying session, though. Less than 2 minutes remaining, and it's still Neymar, Matt Tibos, and Zaidema, your top 3.
You can see everyone is now heading on officially with 147. It's like rush hour almost, as everyone is now officially leaving if they want to put down the time. And I think the problem is they're all going to give each other toe, but they're also all going to kind of stack each other up a little bit. So it's going to be very interesting because if one driver ahead is a little bit slower than you are, it could hurt your lap and cost maybe, for instance, a Zudima a chance at pole position because he had someone like, I don't want to take the anger out of Juresi, but we use him as an example, just being a little bit slower cost him a run.
Yeah, certainly. We've got, you can see their Sway sort of in this queue at the moment. Scott Bugner's lost it through Ascari there. I think Matt Tibos is actually, I think he's going a bit earlier than everyone else. So he's a bit like we saw with Nathan, like we saw with Tom, try and get that clean air rather than relying on a toe from someone else because it's a bit of a traffic jam in that middle sector at the moment. You can see Neymar's got his teammate behind him. I think there's a Williams there as well. That's going to be TDB, and they're going to want to get a move on soon. Otherwise, they might get in trouble when it comes to getting to the checkered flag. They should be fine, but they're not leaving each other a lot of room, especially if there's any slight mistakes or they get held up in any traffic by those ahead might make a mistake, of course. Matt Tibos, sector 1 time at the moment, not improving. Only 7 thousandths down, though. Nothing for him to be too worried about at this moment. True,
but remember, if he doesn't set the best time here, he's going to be on 2 lap bolts off. Again, not much of a difference, but still not going to want that. And he's going to go, it's robbed! And that's qualifying over him. Made the same mistake he did last run there, and it just got loose, hit the paint, and the car hooked the left. And that is wheel off, and that is session done. Luckily, no red flags, so driver's still going to be able to go full speed. But yeah, that would have been session over in real life.
Yeah, certainly. We've seen that happen so many times on this game. Zuidema, though, he's improving at the moment. There is yellow flags, but thankfully on this game, you only really have to pay lip service to them. Sway and TVB have invalidated their lap times. They're not going to be improving. Checkered flag is out in this session. What's it going to be then for everyone? Zuidema heading around the final corner now, heading through the Parabolica. This could be good enough to get him. Maybe not on pole position, but definitely fairly close to it. Wouldn't surprise me if we see a 118.7 here from the Williams. And there we go, 118.768 does put him in that position for now. Neymar was going even quicker. He's invalidated it. It's been a very messy end to this session from everyone. I believe it is only AMG who's actually on a clean lap.
I think also something else worth noting as well while we were covering that, Charlie Haas went off into the gravel in corner, if I'm going to say right, 6-7 in the Curve de Lesmos. He went off in 7 and hit the wall, so that is session done for him, but obviously I think he invalidated beforehand. But yeah, I think he's the driver you said is the only driver on a competitive lap, along with, F1 AMG.
Yeah, so AMG then heading into the final part of the lap now. He did improve in Sector 1, but not in Sector 2, so he doesn't need to find a lot of time, to be fair, to get him ahead of Jarno. Is just going to sneak himself into the 118s. In the end, he goes in between Jarno and Nathan in 6th place on a 109.044. So for one Mercedes, it wasn't great. For the other one, though, that second lap good enough to get pole position.
Correct, indeed. Neymar, I don't want to bet on Neymar here, but I'm saying he had a pretty strong qualifying here. Must be a track he's really strong at, so interesting to see him up top 1. But yeah, other than that, the only driver not to set a time is obviously counting because of his qualifying ban. But yeah, I think a very interesting qualifying here, and I think will be very interesting going into the race tomorrow.
Yeah, certainly. I think this is
later.
we knew what you meant. It was okay. We knew what you meant. So, yeah, I think that you're right. This could be a very interesting race indeed in this session then. And it is Neymar on pole position. Matt Tibos is in second. Zuidema, 35 thousandths off pole position. Doesn't get him onto the front row of the grid, but that slipstream could prove invaluable on the run down towards turn 1. Charlie Harris rounds out the second row of the grid. It is Jarno and AMG on row 3. Nathan is 7th. Last week's winner, Carwin Robb, is in 8th. He won last week by keeping it clean when others failed. Will that help him this time around? Sway and Tom rounding out the top 10. Scott Bugner's going to have a free choice of tyres, as will Dress, and as will the 2 Dutch drivers at the back. TDB didn't get to see what he could do on the softs, so he looks pretty good if he can keep it nice and clean. And Conti, obviously, with that qualifying ban, shaping up to be a pretty decent race, I have to say.
I feel like it's going to be kind of like what Bahrain really wasn't in this league last week, where it's going to be a lot of DRS trains and slipstream battles up in the front because it's very hard to break the train. But if one driver can do it, he may waltz away up bearing a safety car. But taking a quick look at the weather here with our TAS system, it's only 9% chance it rains. So I doubt we'll be seeing any rain unless a 1 out of 10 chance strikes lucky.
Yeah, certainly. Normally, even though it says it's a 1 in a 10 chance for game, unless you're heading into the 40s, 50%, chances are it is going to stay nice and dry around here. Should mean we do get straightforward one-stop strategies, soft to medium and medium to soft. I think only chance we're going to get to see the hard tyres if there's any early incidents or perhaps an early safety car.
I would agree with that point because hards are kind of a death sentence around here, unless they burned all their softs, or if some of the drivers that use a set of mediums maybe don't have any mediums left in the tank. But yeah, doubt anyone's really going to try a set of hards here.
Yeah, certainly. Well, we'll have to just wait and see how things are going to go in this session. Not the fullest grid, but hopefully it is one that is still going to provide plenty of action around the historic Monza circuit in Monza Park. 5.7 kilometres, just under 3.6 miles for 2 DRS zones, one into the Rettifilio and one into the Ascari. Only 11 corners, but it still is always a track that provides plenty of action indeed. And just looking at the tyres that all the drivers have gone for, as we get those on screen for you right now, only the bottom two, TDV and Conti, going for the mediums. Is that perhaps that the drivers ahead of them want to make sure that they stay within that DRS train just because of how good it is?
Maybe something that catches my eye is with Excel against TDB is because he's qualified on a set of mediums, and now he's on another set of mediums. So if something were to happen, let's say an early safety car, he's got to go on the set of hards. He's kind of stuck. So he's really strapped to, he has to hope we get to a window where he can go to the softs, or else he may be going around a set of hards late in this race. So very odd thing, but County obviously makes sense. Go long in the two because you're starting last anyway. But I think everyone else, they want to kind of stay in the train, and they know it probably doesn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt them to stay close, but one thing that catches my eye, I guess it's a glitch in the game. It all says they're on 0 lap old softs.
Yeah, certainly. They aren't on 0 lap old softs. We'll have to wait and see how things go when the session goes on. But it is Neymar on pole position then. There's the suggested strategy from AWS. I'd say it's the top one. Soft to mediums, pitting round about lap 10. Might be the one you want to look out for. Matt Tibos, I think they're nearly going into the back. Well, I think he actually did go into the back of Neymar. Him and Neymar have been disqualified from the session, so any last-minute warm-up of the tyres, they're not going to be able to do. Will that help Zuiderman out on the run towards turn 1?
I think it will, because again, a little confidence. Again, confidence, it's kind of mind games. If you run in the back of someone, it's kind of mess you up. It's like, I use the analogy like a pitcher on the pitcher's mound. You give him a home run, you got to get out of your head. You got to get back into the snap count. You got to get ready to go. And it's easier said than done. So even though with a little bump on the grid, it may cause Tibos to be a little bit cautious going into one.
Yeah, certainly. We are just waiting then for the grid to set up. Zuiderman's got himself into place. Just TDB and Conti on those medium tyres. Can they get them up to temperature quick enough to have a pretty decent run in this race? What can Neymar and Matt Tibos do from the front row of the grid? They've already come together once in this on the way to the grid, as we have got the lights coming on now here. 5 lights at Monza. And we're underway for the Italian Grand Prix, and it does look like Zuiderman has got an absolutely fantastic start from that second row of the grid. He's flying on his run down towards turn 1. Zuiderman takes the lead of this race into turn 1. Neymar is still hanging on to second place. Matt Tibos trying to go all the way around the outside of the Mercedes. He's going to find himself getting squeezed off the track. And that gives Jarno a chance to get his way all the way around the outside into Curva Grande and creates a bit of a gap in the field as other drivers react. We've got AMG and Charlie Harris going side by side now on this run down towards the Rogier chicane. They all seem to manage to get through that cleanly at the moment. Always a relief to see, given how difficult.
Williams driver TDB around lost just on his own accord there, going off that little thing there, and he lost the back end, and he's going to luckily get no damage, hits nothing, but really far off the pace now, 5 seconds back, and wrong way around, goes sway into the wall. I guess if they can hear me, I will kind of radio call this while we wait for this to occur here. I can still hear you loud and clear though. Sneema leads the way with the big winner here, and the Aston Martin driver of Jan Lajuni just right back off Neymar here, definitely gained a lot in the ass, and now the timing of scoring is all screwed up, but that's just normal for a Codemasters game. But everyone else is kind of just slotting in the line, waiting to make an opportunity to make a pass.
Yeah, certainly. Apologies about that there. It seems like my laptop, which is wired up, lost connection, and my PlayStation, which is wireless, managed to maintain connection. So make of that what you will in the first part of this race. But yeah, Sway with a tiny bit of front wing damage, and he is deciding to try and fight on. But you just saw him there snatching that front right. He's gonna struggle, I think, ever so slightly with that damage in the early part of this race. But it is still Zuiderman in the lead ahead of Neymar. We've got another.
I saw how hard Sway hit the wall there. I'm shocked he only has that little damage here. It feels like the damage model may not be as heavy as it was per se, because that lick should have easily destroyed his whole wing, but yet he seems relatively okay. But we got to remember there is side pod damage in this game, among other things, so there is a chance that he may have more damage than he's letting on.
Yeah, certainly. Just because it says on the damage thing. We can see what it's like on the rear wing as well now. It looks like they've got away with any side pod damage, so we'll have to wait and see how things are going. And I think Zyderman's made a slight mistake here because Neymar's gone alongside him coming out of Parabolica. This is not a place you normally see a pass this early on. No DRS, of course, here. Neymar's managed to get himself on the...
Only a 10th difference between Zenema and Neymar that last section. So it really only was just either Neymar got really a great run, or I'm just going to chalk it up to Neymar getting a better run off 3 the last corner than Zudema getting a poor exit.
Yeah, certainly, and especially with how quick they closed up, that might be something to look for later on. In fact, Neymar, he looks like he's going for it at this moment in time. He's 7/10ths of a second up, just coming through that first part of the track. Now, though, that Zoidem has got the DRS. Is this something we're going to see Neymar do? Just go for it on the ERS and try to escape?
Well, yeah, well, right now, look at the ERS.
Yeah, certainly, and we'll just have to wait and see which one ends up being the ideal situation at the moment. As long as you're not too close, obviously, you don't get that sort of dirty air suffering with the tyres, and that might just help them out ever so slightly. And the undercut, not the most powerful amount here, but it's definitely an option that you can make work. I'll tell you who's not doing a bad situation at the moment, as he almost gets bumped his way round that corner by Tom. It is Conti on a set of the medium tyres, still within DRS range of Dress up ahead. That's not looking too bad for him at the moment, although he is coming under a lot of pressure now from the McLaren.
And that's a safety car.
Yeah, TDB out of this race. We have got a safety car. Apologies for the issues. The stream, unfortunately, does keep cutting out, even though the internet seems to be remaining pretty consistent. So not sure what is causing that, but we have got a safety car. Are we going to see some drivers coming into the pits then?
We'll have to see here, and I think in retrospect we're going to see it's kind of early to go to a set of mediums and hards. You're going to be kind of swallowed up. I think everyone is going to stay out would be my guess, per se. Yeah, I think everyone's going to stay out. Well, mixed strategy here, it looks like.
Yeah, mixed strategy indeed. Zoidema, Jarno, Matt Tibos, AMG, Nathan, and Tom going out on the mediums.
Yeah, so 5 soft runners stayed out. 1 obviously County was obviously started on a set of mediums, while the rest of the soft runners, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 soft runners came in, 5 runners, soft runners stayed out.
Yeah, well, that says a lot, I think, about which way they're going. What is interesting, though, Sway perhaps deciding to really try for something different. He's come in and put on a set of the hard tyres.
Now that is just not odd strategy indeed, unless he doesn't think the mediums are going to make it that long. I mean, it's going to be... mediums only go about... Maybe he knows something we don't, but I feel like the mediums... I think it may be... Oh, never mind. He's now coming in to put on a set of mediums anyway, so never mind.
Yeah, that changes everything. Whether he just didn't have the confidence for whatever reason. He did start on a set of soft tyres, so not sure why he'd felt the need to do that, but he's coming into the pits and he's put on a set of the mediums, and we are behind a safety car. We had a very late one of these. Let's not forget our last race. It's quite a bit earlier this time, and it is Neymar, Carwin Robbs, Scott Bogner, and Dress up into 4th place. Conti is in 5th on his set of the mediums. Charlie Harris is in 6th position. Conti now, he's the only driver on the medium tyres that started on that set of mediums. We know he's got to pit. We know the rest of them in the top 6 are going to have to pit as well. His tyres might not be in a bad situation after this restart, so maybe think about getting some moves done.
Well, checking the TAS system here, he's only at 12% on all his tires, I would argue, and the highest soft runner is at 20, which is something kind of odd, though. It says that Neymar's at 5, which I doubt those tires at 5%. But something worth noting is right around like 13, 60%, so he's got about a 5-6% advantage, maybe set at best 10 with 4 laps. So it definitely should be helpful at least be able to take the lead and read a few laps. The problem is if Charlie Harris gets passed quickly by those medium runners, he could easily get swallowed up by Zudema and the rest.
Yeah, certainly. So here we are. I've got the cars just still going around at this moment in time. Safety cars should be coming in on this lap. I believe Sway, well, I hope Sway catches up to the back of the pack, although not sure what different drivers will want. Obviously, if you put a set of the mediums on at the moment and you've got any doubt about them lasting, another lap under the safety car wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Correct. Indeed. Actually, I'm going to check something here. Maybe try to do some quick calculations. We got a little bit of time here. 10 for 5 laps. That would be every 10. So actually, he probably could. Yeah, mediums could probably make it to the end here if I'm doing quick math in my head. So they should be all good to go, at least 7th on back.
Yes, certainly. And one driver who will be hoping that they can make it to the end, if you remember last week, is Matt Tibos. He had that late puncture in the Bahrain Grand Prix when he was really looking good to take the victory. Everything just went wrong for him towards the end of that race. In the end, still managed to, fair play to him for carrying on until the end, coming home in that 12th position. But we'll have to wait and see how things are going to go this time, as lights are still on above the safety car. Sway's nearly caught up to the back of the pack, so I wonder if we'll get a trademark late decision by Bert Mylander to dive it into the pits. Doesn't look like it. Does look like we're going to have to carry on another lap.
Yeah, no, he's a little bit too far away. If he was on the train of that coming off, I think they would have pulled it, but sadly, just a little bit too far back. We're going around one more time, which is fine. It's a nice Italian landscape here. Very nice to look at, so I have no complaints.
Yeah, certainly. It's quite nice at the other Italian circuit that hopefully, touch wood, won't be too far away from coming on this game.
From that, even though they have to update him. And also remember, Project Cars 2 also had Imola, so... And remember, Project Cars 2 and Slight Mad Studios is now under Codemasters Umbrella, which is under the EA banner, because yay. It is worth noting that, yeah, it should be somewhere on their track scan something, so it should be out hopefully sooner rather than later. But they said that about the F2 drivers, and it took a wee bit to get the updated F2 drivers last season, so maybe a while before we see it. But rumor mill says October, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know indeed. I think it was 2013 when it appeared as a classic circuit on the Codemasters game. Of course, then it had the chicane at the final part of the lap, and that has been removed since they used it for the last 2 times in Formula 1. And the whole reason we got Imola in Formula 1 was because they were adding some chicanes and doing some renovations to Monza. 1980, the only time the Italian Grand Prix wasn't held at Monza, and the only time in what is now 72 seasons of Formula 1 that Monza wasn't on the calendar. Hopefully, we won't have to talk too much about the history of Formula 1. Hopefully, we can get onto this race very shortly. 20 laps remaining. Safety car is coming in this lap. Neymar, you've got to be really tactical around this circuit when to go for it. You do not want to give Rob, Scott, Dress, Conti a lovely slipstream all the way down to the first chicane.
Where Rob is currently in the standings here, so and he wants to make the Ferrari fans faithful. He can easily get a good pull out here if he can get ahead of Neymar Gaming. So Rob doesn't want to throw it away, but at the same time knows he can get a very, very large lead if he can pull off a good finish here today.
Yeah, he's very close to the back of that Mercedes, not giving Neymar any room whatsoever at the moment. Neymar's now decided to go for it, blasting on the ERS, so we are back underway. It's not been a bad restart from Rob, to be fair, and Scott Buckner's got a fairly decent chance on this run down towards the first corner. Who's going to be taking the lead here? The Mercedes just goes slightly defensive. In the end, thinks better of it as Dress sends one up the inside of the Red Bull. I don't know if they'll be too happy about that, and I think Rob's made a slight mistake through there as well, so Scott Buckner's actually ended up in second place, and what looked like it might be a bit of a difficult restart for Neymar has turned it to be an absolutely fantastic restart for the Danish driver. He's now 1.3 seconds ahead of everyone here. Dress is going to try and have a go down the inside of Karin Rob. Thinks better of it on this occasion. You've still got Conti and Zeidemer there as well. Matt Tibos cuts over the chicane, loses it on the curb. Just a bit too fast over the sleeping policeman.
Yep, he went over the sausage curve there, and that cost him dearly. Something else I was going to note there is Zudima got around Charlie Harris, and he's only the only current driver that pitted to get around that one soft runner. So it is worth noting Zudima can kind of open up a little bit, per se, if Charlie Haas is slow on the softs, because obviously the tire advantage, per se. So it could allow Zudima to get some open ground, but with Conti and the rest of the field not too far off the road, how much time can he gain?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. That is not a bad idea for Zeidemer if he can gain himself a bit of time here. Still, no penalties. You don't usually see too many around this circuit. Jarno, the only one with a penalty at this moment in time, and that was a fantastic restart lap from Neymar. He's 1.5 seconds clear as we head onto lap number 9. Scott Buckner is in second, quite a way ahead of Karin Rob, who's going to be coming under pressure from Dressy sooner rather than later. Conti and Zeidemer are there as now. DRS is activated. Next time around, it is crucial for Rob that he stays within that 1 second of Scott Buckner. Otherwise, he's going to be under all sorts of pressure as Nathan makes a mistake.
About to say, speaking of pressure, Nathan got it the wrong way around again. So it looks like right now 2 medium drivers have made mistakes, and it cost him dearly. So it looks kind of odd indeed that the drivers that pitted aren't as rubbered up to the track yet as drivers that stayed out. So very odd indeed.
Yeah, certainly. A very strange situation at this moment in time. Jarno all over the back of Charlie Harris. This is the part of the circuit maybe where we're starting to see the grip advantage coming for those medium tyres, but Charlie's hanging on in there, and if he hangs on within DRS range, it's going to be very tough for these drivers to pass him. Still though, Rob just hanging in within that 1 second. First time they'll be able to use the DRS is on the run down towards Ascari next time around on lap 10. I don't think we'll be too far away from seeing the rest of these soft blooders starting to come into the pits and putting on that set of mediums. Of course, AWS did predict around about lap 10 for when that was going to happen. And for Dress, he might be one of the first ones to come in here because he's probably feeling like he's getting held up slightly by the Ferrari.
Maybe indeed it could be a strategy to get the undercut. The undercut is not as potent around here, but it's never not. That's not a bad idea to try it if you're especially right up the tailpipe for someone else. And with Conti not that far behind, Conti definitely will have the advantage at a couple laps and swarming him. It isn't totally a bad idea to try it. But yeah, right now Neymar is kind of the cat that ate the canary per se, because right now he's out of the DRS range of Bugner, and Bugner's out of the DRS range of Rob. So they're all kind of spaced each other out per se, and it's going to allow Neymar to get some more distance when he does pit. It's less distance he has to cover when when he has to eventually come down and pit.
Yeah, certainly. Matt Tibos, fastest lap of the race, showing the pace that he's got. Despite that spin in the wall, he's not doing too bad whatsoever. It's just a shame for him that he did have that that spin, of course. And a bit like Bahrain, it might be a case of what might have been for the Alpine driver. And with such a short calendar here at TTML, only 10 races, you can't afford to have too many off days. Dresser in the Alpha Tauri just not quite close enough that time around to have a go at Carvin Rob.
Indeed, yeah, remember Dresser qualified around 10th or 11th, so I'm not gonna say he's a reserve driver. We don't know what his pedigree is outside of this, as I think Williams is the wrong way around. That is Sway, his lost back end coming out of the Ascari, and he's gonna get it refired. So both Alpine cars are now 12th and 13th, so that's really gonna hurt him in the constructors.
Yeah, certainly. Alpine struggling slightly at the moment. Let's not forget you can use the TAS commands in the chat to find out what position in the championship drivers are going to be, how many penalties they've got, and who's setting the fastest laps at the moment as Zydemer down the inside of Conti. So we do find the IGK TAS system for that one. Good move there by Zydemer. Gets himself up into the top 5, and Charlie Harris actually following through on Conti as well. That's a bit of a surprise.
Yonti made the pass and then just got bodied back. So, yeah, it's just worth noting that sometimes when one driver gets by, the other one kind of squirt on by. And Charlie Haas has made it work, but now here comes, and now Yonti as well. So County looked like he was going to be okay. The mediums now is getting swallowed by the field.
Yeah, this sort of happens once you get offline ever so slightly, as there we go, there's a perfect demonstration through the first Lesmo. It's not normally an overtaking opportunity, but AMG just able to get through and take advantage of the difficulties that Conti is having at the moment. Hopefully for his sake, he'll be able to regroup back towards the front of the field. Carvin Rob looked like he was going to be under pressure from the Alpha Tauri behind not so long ago. Now he's putting pressure on the senior team of them, the Red Bull of Scott Bugner. Now with that 3-second time penalty, looking like he could be under a...
Want to get in and just take a risk here because he wasn't going to catch Neymar, and he knew if he starts battling, it's going to pull everyone down to the medium runners. So better start just to pit and get off and try to re-jump them in the pits. But going back to Carway Rob, I think maybe he's a driver that gets kind of warmed up as the session goes on. Give him a couple laps and he'll get re-gripped to the track, because I know that's something I personally do. It first couple laps after a restart or a safety car or whatever, it takes me a couple laps to get re-gripped. So maybe he's a driver that just takes a couple laps to get going.
Yeah, certainly. Got to try and get used to that new set of tyres, of course, see how they're feeling. Zydemer still having to defend fairly hard from Charlie Harris at this moment in time. Shouldn't be too long before we see that Red Bull coming into the pits. Now that Scott Bugner's coming, I think a few more will be wanting to make their way in. The problem Scott has got at the moment, well, he might not be a problem very long if a Sway makes a mistake coming through the exit of the Rogier chicane and gets well out of the way. I was about to say, Scott's come out behind another car, which gives you the DRS, but might just mean that you get held up ever so slightly. But that turned out to be a moot point in the end. Will we see Neymar react to that pit stop? Will we see Carwin Rob react to it as Tom is off at the exit of Ascari?
Yeah, I was going to say Tom lost it again, similar to what happened to Tibos earlier, what happened to Sway. It just seems like a lot of mistakes are occurring, because now Neymar is in the pits here. He's going to pit as well and get off that rubber.
Yeah, I think all the soft runners deciding that is the lap to come into the pit. So it is now Zydemer in the lead of this race. Everyone apart from Conti has now made their one mandatory pit stop, of course. So take him out of the equation. This is pretty much how it is for the race. Neymar's going to come out of the pits then in 7th position, I think, at this moment in time. Scott Bugner, you can just see there, is now well ahead of the Ferrari of Carvin Rob, who's coming under a bit of pressure.
Oh, Neymar! Sorry to cut you off there. Neymar just lost going on the 1-2 there on the cold tires, and he's basically the best of the rest there. And now he's lost, and that's going to allow Scott Bugner to be the best of the rest.
Such a nightmare for Neymar there. He'd done everything right. He'd maintained that lead of that group in the pit stops. But like he said, cold tyres, first time using them, just lighting up the rears, coming through the Vetophilia chicane. So easy to do. Such a big mistake from him. He was in 7th place. He's now down in 12th. Scott Buckner's got sway in between him and Carwin Rob as well. But we're looking at the battle for the lead of this race. Zydemer versus Yarno versus AMG. None of these drivers have to come into the pits. Yarno still has that 3-second time penalty, which could cost him if we see a late safety car, similar to what happened last time around. Things looking pretty good at the moment, and for Zydemer at least, he's going to be coming under a lot of pressure. Yarno's not got a lot of ERS here. What he has got, though, is a slipstream. He's got the DRS, he's got the inside line, and that is going to be the move for the lead of this race.
Yeah, indeed, it's going to go to the Aston Martin driver, but I would not shock the Williams will not back down here, and he'll keep fighting. But what's worth noting is Bugner and the rest are going to have to catch 18 seconds. They do have 8-lap fresher tires, though, but that is going to be a Herculean task to get 18 seconds in about 13, give or take, laps.
Yeah, certainly. I can't quite see it happening unless the drivers up ahead start battling through parts of the circuit that you shouldn't be battling through. And then they might start getting into trouble. If we look at the tyre wear for some of these drivers that pitted earlier on, they're on 25% at the moment after doing 8 laps. 75 is normally the puncture range, so thankfully we can say they've got another 16 laps before that gets into a problem. And there's not 16 laps after this race.
And considering the soft runners, they come in around when it was about 50% though, so the tire fault may be around 50%, I'd argue, when they'll really be going a lot slower per se, and that would be about, give or take, a little bit less than like 11 or 12, but even then it's still going to be just on the cuff. So yeah, unless Herculean effort happens, I think our winner is going to come from that top 5 group right now, as Carwin Roberts just made a pass on Sway for 8th.
Yeah, Sway there. I think DRS had a bit of bad exit through the second Lesmo, costing him, so that is Rob up into 8th place. He'll gain on Scott Buckner after the penalties, so he might be one to watch out for at the end of this race. They are catching up to Tom. This could help them, actually, if they manage to catch with Tom, because then that'll give them the DRS, which the lead 2 drivers have, of course. And I think AMG's made a slight mistake. He's now 2 seconds off the leader.
I was actually looking in the back, so I can't tell you exactly what happened there. We're now covering this the fast lap of the race, but I wouldn't be shocked if MG made a slight mistake there, because he was only about under a second, and now he's back. So probably he's got a little squirrely, similar to what happened to Neymar, his teammate maybe, but he's able to keep a point in the right direction.
Yeah, that Neymar, I'm sure, will be absolutely gutted with that mistake that he has made. Just needs to keep his head down, though. He's kept it clean penalty-wise at the moment. We'll see if he has got any warnings on his situation. He's only showing us 1 warning at this moment in time, so should be fine as long as he doesn't cause a few problems for himself in this race. Sway's still on the back of Rob on those older tyres. He might be a driver who finds himself coming under pressure. Not being an ideal race for Alpine. Last time out, looked like they might take the win. Matt Tibos had that problem. And
Speaking of Tibos, yep, he's lost it again. This has now been a race to forget for the Alpine driver here. 2 in a row. It's going to be a very hard hole to climb out of, per se, but it's not impossible. 8 rounds to go, but he's going to have to get these jitters out and get the monkey off his back, metaphorically speaking, as County now gets 3 from multiple warnings as well. So with Yonda also having 3 as well, right now the de facto leader is Zudima, and then AMG would be in second, so probably the Aston Martin driver is kicking himself a little bit by getting that penalty, and that is really going to hurt him in the long run.
Yeah, because all Zydemer has to do is just sit there, be patient. I know it's not the exciting racing thing to do. He doesn't have to worry too much. Just sit there. He can quite happily maybe claim this victory as Charlie Harris gets himself the fastest lap of the race. You do get a bonus point for setting the fastest lap. So Matt Tibos, don't be surprised if he comes in for the softs at the end to try and secure that and get that 1 extra point.
Correct. I would agree. Go for anything as possible. You got like sector 1. It looks like someone's actually maybe around here. Oh, Ferrari. Yep, Carway Rob is around there. Another mistake. Gee, just saying, it looks like the cold mediums have really caught out a lot of drivers. Remember, Tibos, the other Alpine driver, have spawned Neymar. It looks like really cold mediums are catching drivers out, and that is definitely going to hurt our points leader here, and it's going to bring the gap down. It's going to definitely allow Zima, presumably at least, take over the lead.
Yeah, and that is big front wing damage as well for Carwin Rob. You can visibly see it, not from that camera angle, but he is missing the front right end plate, so don't be surprised if he comes in, puts on a set of fresh softs, if he's got any, to get himself towards the end of the race. We've got another yellow flag, and that is Matt Tibos. They are really struggling in this race at this moment in time. Scott Buckner did manage to make his way past Tom, who's now coming under a bit of pressure from Sway. These 2 on the same age of tyres as Dress in the wall.
He is in the wall there. If he can't get refired, there could be a safety car trigger. It looks like he'll get it re-going, though, so no safety car here, but it's going to allow Colway Rob, but Rob's going to have to pit again, and I don't think... Yeah, Desiree has broken his wing as well completely, so both are going to be coming in. So 11-12, maybe a fight between these two.
Yeah, certainly. This race, absolute chaos at this moment in time. Conti's going to come out in 10th place, in plenty of free air, so we'll see what he can do and whether he can catch up to those drivers up ahead of him like Neymar and Charlie Harvey. You would expect on pure pace by the tyres that he should be able to do that. The front three have closed up ever so... Well, I say the front three. AMG has closed back up onto them once more as Matt Tibos actually deciding to carry on a bit longer. Fair play to him if he hasn't got any damage on his car. Might as well stay out there and gain the 2 extra points to finish in 11th compared to 13th place. It really does look like the winner is going to come from one of these front three now. Nathan just having a very lonely race. 8 seconds behind AMG, 9 seconds ahead of Scott Buckner. He's just got to try and keep focused and hope for a safety car or hope for more penalties up ahead.
Remember, he's currently second in the standings, only 5 back on Colway Rob, and Colway Rob just crashed. And considering the only driver behind him is Zudima, so actually, and they're going to start fighting because they know that the Aston Martin in the lead has a 3-second time penalty. So one can't sit behind the other, and they're just going to start getting scrappy for the de facto win.
Yeah, certainly. I think it is going to get pretty interesting. Jarno
Well,
picks up another time
6.
penalty.
And now, considering that Nathan is 8 back on the leader, if he gets one more, that's going to put Nathan in 3rd.
Yeah, that's going to be that is definitely going to be one thing to watch out for. Charlie Harris has managed to get his way past Tom, who's going to try and fight back, I think, into the Roger chicane, just too far behind. And no ERS means that is always going to be a bit of a losing battle, unfortunately. So Tom stays, very nearly loses it, and I think Sway almost lost it ahead of Charlie as well. This is a really good battle we've got going on for 6th, 7th and 8th at the moment, and you'd have to put your money on the Red Bull driver who's in the middle of it. He's got much fresher tyres than those around him, as there is another yellow flag, and that is F1 AMG.
Oh, that is the driver in 3rd. That is definitely going to be a mistake there, and he's at least got it pointed right, but yeah, that's the 7 seconds. That's going to allow Nathan to really catch him, but that basically means Zudima can kind of just bring the car home safely, and he's got this win. He doesn't even have to push anymore, so that may have just sealed the win for the Williams driver.
Yeah, certainly, and AMG
he's actually coming in.
Wow, that's a surprise. It wasn't showing any front wing damage on the TAS system, so AMG deciding to come into the pit, put on a set of soft tyres. He's going to drop a long way down the field here, probably behind his teammate, I'd imagine. This is interesting.
Because looking at the tires here, top 3, 40% for Nathan, 34% for Zudima, and about 37% for the Aston Martin ahead. So maybe he's thinking they're going to pit again? But he's going to be so far back. So he's 4 seconds behind Conti, who's a second behind Neymar, who's a second behind that top pack. So I don't know what he's thinking either. Maybe he just thinks they're not going to make it.
Yeah, but to be honest, I don't think there's an issue with them making it until the end of this race. I'm not pace-wise, like you said, they might start struggling round about that 50% point, but I don't...
that Nathan is 10 behind Zudima, and Brogger's 7 behind him. That's 17 seconds. They have not closed any time on that top 3. So, I don't get it. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it's quite interesting at the moment. Dresse sets the fastest lap of the race. He's 120.0. It is going to be one of those that's just gone onto the soft tyres. Maybe AMG fancies his chances of getting far enough up the order and setting the fastest lap as well. But he's around, 7 or 8 seconds behind Scott Buckner at this moment in time?
He's 5 behind Conti, and he's basically, 7.5 seconds. So yeah, he's then going to have to pass them too, and they're going to be on, because Conti's only got a 1 tire lap difference to AMG, so Conti's going to fight hard. And Neymar's only 4 laps on the medium, so he's going to have to fight hard to get past those two. And it's just, I don't really get the benefit, because by the time he does get to the slow cars, he's going to have to pass 2 faster cars, per se, with tire advantage, and they're going to kill his tires, so...
Yeah, and I think there's going to be some DRS train effect happening around that time as well. Conti's nearly within DRS range of Neymar, and then you would expect if Conti does get ahead of Neymar, might close up to this battle we're seeing on board with Tom at the moment. You've got Charlie, Sway and Tom in 5th, 6th and 7th. Sway, Dresse gets himself a time penalty. He won't care about that. He's on 6 seconds at the moment, as is Scott Buckner, as is Sway, as is Jarno. So a lot of the drivers who are picking up penalties seem to be picking up quite a few at this moment in time, and this could make things a bit more interesting at the lead of this race. Just for a split second there, Zuidema dropped outside that 1 second window.
True indeed, but he's still got 5 seconds, so even if he drops out, he can cough up probably about like a half a second a lap, and he'll be fine. As AMG now gets 3, so that's going to really, he's pushing by that fastest lap, but any advantage he could have got with the top 3 being all time penalty out with 3 seconds, he just lost. So to go back though with the penalties for a second, it just feels like it's kind of a driver thing where sometimes some drivers
picking up the time penalties at this moment in time. Apologies.
Well, Conti's passing Neymar. Sorry to cut you off, but Conti's just passed Neymar for 8th. So put Conti up 1 spot, and that's been a good drive for the TTG driver. As we do have yellow flag sector 2.
Yellow flag in sector 2. I'm not quite sure who that is at this moment in time. I think
it was right around the Zedima passed Aston Martin driver for the lead.
Yeah, I wonder if it was. Yeah, slight mistake by the looks of things. Maybe then from Jarno for the lead of this race. So that's what's caused that one. Zedima now in the lead of this race. Jarno just knowing how hard he's got to push to try and break that 1 second window. It's going to be very difficult now. Almost impossible, you would say. He's just got to concentrate on keeping it clean and not getting any penalties. Apologies that we do keep having these odd little 2-second dropouts that do affect the stream. Hopefully once the replay is up, you won't suffer from any of that, and you will be able to watch this race back, as well as all the other TTML ones, on the League Racing TV channel. Jarno doesn't seem to have let that mistake affect him, though. He's going to have the DRS this time around. He's not bothering to go to the slipstream straight away. Then he decides for it and just lifts off ever so slightly.
Because he knows he's got 6 seconds. He's not going to be able to get 6 seconds clear Zedima. So I think he's thinking logistically, just tuck in behind Zedima, let Zedima tow me the 2nd place. Because if he starts battling him, that may allow Nathan, he may get another time penalty to bring up to 9, or that may allow Nathan to bring him in. But Nathan's now 12 back. So he's really losing a lot of time, and Bugner's now only 5 back on Nathan. So Nathan may not be home free on that podium yet, per se.
No, I think definitely. Jarno, he might want to take the victory out on track just for that bit of driver ego of, I took the win on the circuit. Yes, I had the penalties, but I was the fastest on the day and all that. Just that little bit of a psychological edge. That is another yellow flag, and that is, I think, Dressy again. He's out of this race.
And that could be a safety car.
Well,
we'll check here when the leader's about to pass him on the track here, so we'll see where he's stationed, but there's no flag, so I doubt we're getting one, unless it's a late call.
No, certainly. It does seem, well, he is quite a long way off the track. He's lost it quite early on over that curve there through the final part of the Scarvis, so he's out of this race. We are down to just 12 runners then, and yeah, not an ideal debut for him, unfortunately. We're continuing to follow this battle on track for the lead of this race. After penalties, it is looking pretty much a done deal now, and that Zedima will end up taking the victory in this race. That will give him a fantastic chance, maybe. Oh, well, looks like it almost certainly will give him a championship lead at this moment in time, as Jarno's going to go for it this time around, down the inside into the first chicane. Zedima's going to try and hang it off all the way around the outside, not able to do so, and Jarno takes the lead.
Honestly, right now, if you're Zedima, I don't want to fight him because there's nothing gained fighting him. So just stay behind or beat him on track. I know Eagle's one thing, but you don't want to throw it away because Nathan is in 3rd. If you threw it away and you finish 10th, Nathan gets a big championship lead on you instead of just being like maybe tied in points or being 1 up. It's going to be a situation where Nathan is going to be way ahead and you're going to have to dig yourself out a hole. So just let the Aston driver go, or if he wants it, tell him to have it.
Yeah, certainly. It might be worth him just staying with him and then getting him on the last lap if he wants to take the victory out on track. Conti's managed to make an overtake on Tom, so he's up into 7th place using those soft tyres well. Next target will be Sway, who has dropped back quite a bit from Charlie. These two Red Bulls, they're putting in some pretty decent pace at this moment in time. Scott Bugner is now just 3.5 seconds behind Nathan. Charlie Harris 1.5 seconds behind his teammate. Maybe on the final lap of this race, they could be very close to that Alfa Romeo, but again, penalties are going to cost them.
Yeah, Bugner's got 6, and Charlie Haas has got 3. Sway's got 6, and Conti's got 3, and I think Conti's got more for a task system violation. So really, Nathan's probably got 3rd locked, unless he spontaneously combusts.
Yeah, certainly. I think he'll be quite fine on that position for now. Back to the leaders then. It is Zedima still in 2nd place. Conti is closing on Sway this time around, and I think he's going to get this move done then for 6th and 7th place. The Alpine driver defends to the inside line, realises there's not really a lot he can do, especially with the low ERS, and there we go. Conti is into 6th place out on track. And I think, like you said, he is going to get a penalty for a TAS violation. I think Charlie Harris might be getting one as well, as we aren't able to see his data. So a couple more TAS penalties to go with the 2 that we saw last week. Conti is up into the 6th out on track. AMG, he's in 10th place. He's got to be kicking himself, A, about the mistake, B, about this strategy. It has not worked whatsoever.
Well, he has caught the back of the pack here if he can get past Neymar, but then Tom's got no penalties, and so he will get like Sway, and then he'll get Bugner. But that's it. If he kept it clean, then yeah, he gets 4 free spots, but he still finished behind. I think he was banking, after that mistake, he was banking on getting nothing, and then he was able to get ahead of Neymar and Tomid, and then just jump the other ones. The next thing you know, he's 4th again. So, and get the fast slaps. Maybe that was the strategy, but that 3-second time penalty really threw a monkey wrench in the plan.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much hoping that others would get penalties or others would have tyre trouble, and it's just not quite worked out the way that he would have liked. Zyderman's just deciding to hang back this time around, like you said, purposely. Who can really blame him? I think we're going to see the 2 Mercedes battling here at Monza. It's not something we've seen too often happen in Formula 1, and I'm not sure there's going to be a lot Neymar can do about it happening this time around. AMG straight down the inside, with that penalty, with the fresher tyres, can take the racing line, gets himself up into 9th position. What for both Mercedes drivers? It looked like it could be a really promising race at one point. Unfortunately, it is not going to work out that way. This battle, I say battle for 3rd place. Scott Buckner's now only 2 seconds behind, and he's definitely dragging his teammate with him.
One question I do bring up here is, if I'm right now, Nathan, I know I keep saying let drivers go, but think about logistically. Buckner's got 6, Haas has got 3. Sorry, Harris has got 3. So is AMG now gets another 6, so any chance of him going up the grid is now completely washed. So, but anyway, back to Nathan. Maybe let him go. Don't fight him, because you still got 3rd locked if you just tuck him behind. I know there could be other unwritten penalties, so those penalties could get removed, but since they're for cutting, it's going to be very hard to get them removed. But at the end of the day, I'm a driver that is very conservative. Don't want to risk getting damaged or getting destructive and lose championship points when you could prevent it. So it's pride, but Buckner's going to clearly be faster because of tire advantage along with Harris. So maybe just let them get the preferred line and tuck behind, because I don't think they're going to get 6 and 3 on you before the end of this race.
Yeah, I think he's going to defend, I think, a tiny bit, but like you said, not overly defend, just maybe cover the inside line, and if you go all the way around the outside of me, or you get it done on DRS, and that is fair play. Another DRS pass then for AMG. He's now up into the 8th place out on track, but those penalties, like you said, are going to cost him, especially that last one, because that will mean he drops behind Neymar. We head back to the battle for 3rd place. It was over a second, but it was nearly 2 seconds when we were talking about it. Nathan is now really in the clutches of Scott Buckner here, who thinks about a move into the first Lesmo. Nothing doing there. This could well be done into a Scarvi, which, even though it's a DRS zone, isn't a traditional overtaking point.
Remember, Nathan is at 60% tire wear, while Bugner's only at 40, so that's a 20% tire wear difference, and that is clearly showing right now as Mr. Bugner gets on right on by, but it looks like Charlie Haas is still there, but not as there as he would probably like to be.
Yeah, definitely. He's trying to close in as much as possible. As things stand at the moment, he has got that 3-second time penalty, so it would be his teammate, but that would still drop him behind Nathan. We all want to go on to the final lap of the race. Jarno is still leading out on the circuit. Is Zyderman going to dive down the inside to take it out on track? Thinks better of it this time around. He knows he just needs to keep it pointing in the right direction and basically avoid making up his own racetrack. And he is going to take the victory here. Nathan's holding on here from Charlie Harris, who's going to be too far behind, surely, for a late Ricardo X dive bomb down the inside. No, just has to play second fiddle for now. He's almost bumping him through the corners. Matt Tibbos picks up a 3-second time penalty. Alpine, it has been a bit of a race to forget for both of them. Sway, though, as I say, that gets passed by F1 AMG, who's really starting to make these soft tyres work in the latter stages of this race. Sway's going to try and think about fighting back. Won't have the grip to do so. Back towards the leader zone. Jarno, he's just over. Well, he's just far enough ahead that he's not going to get overtaken out on track. And that is clear. But time penalties, as always on this F1 game, prove very costly, especially he got one early on. There was that safety car that closed up the pack. That changed the strategy. These two came into the pits off the softs, and that has definitely been the right thing to do as the Aston Martin and Williams round the final corner then at the Italian Grand Prix. It is going to be Jarno who takes it out on circuit, but it is Exo Zyderman who's going to claim victory here at the Italian Grand Prix. He takes the victory. Charlie Harris has just got ahead of Nathan, who thinks about fighting back and then realises, hey, there's no real point. I've got this 3rd place anyway after penalties. Scott Buckner will drop, I believe, to 5th position. Charlie will stay in 4th, and Nathan will claim that 3rd place. Conti just misses out on 5th. Not a bad result whatsoever coming from the back of the grid. Tom and Neymar both finish ahead of AMG, who is 9th. Sway's in 10th. And Matt Tibbos and Carlin Robb will be the final finishers of this race. Fastest lap will go to Dressy, I believe, even though he did retire from this race. But Zydemer did the perfect thing. He called the strategy right, he kept it nice and clean, and with the mistakes of the others, all he needed to do.
It does bring the question, if Neymar came in when he was supposed to come in, what would have been the different race there? Because he was leading the race, and he decided not to come in and then made that mistake. I don't think he would have obviously won this race if he obviously, well, maybe, we'll see. That's a what-if question, but it is worth noting that Neymar kind of threw it away there, but you can't take away from Zadima as well, having to drive a pretty good drive here, and deserves to win this race, you would say.
Yeah, Conte getting a driver of the day. Not a bad result whatsoever for him, fighting through the field. But I don't think he can look past Zydemer. He drove absolutely fantastically. Takes that victory here today. Jarno, slightly gutted with second, did show fantastic pace, and another podium for Nathan. Third position this time around. The rest of your point scorers then and finishers. Charlie in fourth. Scott Bugner is in fifth place. Conte sixth. Tom in seventh. Neymar, if he hadn't have spun, look at the pace that the Red Bulls had at the end of this race. Could he have still got on the podium, even on that suboptimal strategy? AMG was ninth. Sway, Matt Tibos and Carvin Robb, who won last time out, last this time around. Two retirements were Dressy and XLTDB. We said we might see a few mistakes in that race. Obviously, they were the costly ones that caused the retirement, but I think in terms of impact on this race, Neymar and AMG, the two Mercedes, big mistakes from them, possibly, who knows, might have cost them a double podium even.
Yeah, I think it could have cost him a double podium indeed. But what's something worth noting is I was thinking through the standings there while you were kind of talking there. Right now, if bearing any unforeseen penalties that we don't know about, per se, later on, right now the standings of the top two are tied because it was a 5-point gap. And actually, no, it's actually not going to be tied. My mistake. It's going to be because Zudima actually took him second. So, all right, it's going to be a 5-point lead for Zudima, and Berserk's going to be 5 behind him.
Yeah, certainly. So, consistency that those two have shown. You've got to say for Nathan, let's not forget, he's a reserve driver. He's relying on other drivers not turning up, and at the moment, that's working pretty well for him. Yeah,
but the only thing that's going to stink is if there's a round where he can't get an open seat. That is really going to, like, comes in the final round and he can't get an open ride because everyone showed up. Because maybe it comes down where Zudima starts bribing some drivers to come in, like, hey, just show up, please. I'll give you $5, show up. I don't want my reserve driver getting in here.
Yeah, certainly. He's not in too bad of a situation at the moment. Hopefully we'll be able to get the top 3 drivers in for some post-race interviews. It'll be interesting to see the different strategies people have gone for, the different way that race has gone, because drivers who showed the pace last time around, for example, Matt Tibos, last week he was unlucky. Today it was just really did not seem to get a handle on that car whatsoever.
No, he did. He was really struggling with that car, and it just made one mistake. And like I said, I was telling in the early pre-race broadcast, like the pitcher mentality, where if you make one mistake, you got to get it out of your head, or else it's just going to keep making mistakes. You're going to keep adding on to it, and next thing you know, there's a single, there's a double, there's another home run, or to use the goalkeeper analogy, same thing, 1 goal, 2 goal, 3 goal. And I think it just got in his head, and after one mistake, another one, and it just to the point where you just had to get the yank out because he was too far gone. But luckily, there's still 8 rounds left. If he can get regripped and maybe bring home a win next race, he can easily try to right this sinking ship.
Yeah, certainly. And we are going to then bring in some drivers for the interviews here. We're going to start in reverse order then with the man who finished in 3rd position. It is Nathan. Nathan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can indeed.
Yes, we can.
Congratulations on the podium there. Bit of a quiet race for yourselves until the end of that one.
Yeah, it was. I was just struggling with this track in particular, and also just nursing those mediums until the end. I was a bit afraid of getting a puncture, but luckily I didn't, and happy with the podium.
Yeah, definitely. How did those mediums feel at the end of that race? I can't imagine they were too good. It did look as though those behind was really starting to find a lot of pace at the end of that race.
Yeah, true. No, they weren't really great, but I was I knew that the guys behind had a time penalty, so I was just extra careful and not push those tires too much. So just to secure the P3.
Yeah, did a fantastic job to get a second podium. Pepsi, do you have any questions?
The only thing I have really to bring up here is you are a reserve driver, as was brought up here. Does this give you, I know you're reserved by choice, presumably, but does this give you any kind of motivation now that you're still second in the standings here to possibly maybe get a full-time ride, at the very least, try to find a way on the grid every week?
Yeah, definitely. I already signed up to. I wanted to be a full-time driver, but I was just a bit too late signing up. So yeah, I'm now reserve, and it's fine. But maybe once a seat is open, I will maybe get that one.
You have shown the pace, so it definitely wouldn't be a shock to see you if you do be full-time. You definitely could make a run for this championship and be a threat on this grid.
Yeah, hopefully let's go for it.
That's the attitude I'd like to see. So thank you, Nathan. Luke, anything else you want to add?
No, that's it for me. Congratulations, Nathan, on another podium.
Yeah, thanks for commentating on the race. Bye-bye.
Bye indeed. We are going to bring in then our man who finished first out on circuit, but in the end second after penalties. It is Jarno. So close to taking your first victory of the season, but still a good performance from yourself.
Yeah, good evening all. Yeah, I didn't expect to really fight for the win today because I did literally zero practice, only a few time trial laps, but I'll take P2.
Yeah, we heard from Nathan how difficult the tyres were at the end of the race. I imagine you were feeling in a similar situation. Must have been pretty difficult to keep it going, especially when you had Zuidema right behind you.
Yeah, the last 3 to 4 laps, the grip starts to get worse and worse, and I was lucky that I didn't crash at the Scar in the last lap because I had a little bit of an oversteer moment. So yeah, I was very lucky, but I kept the tires going, and luckily I didn't get a puncture.
Yeah, we saw how punctures could change things last week. Pepsi, do you have any questions?
I really want to throw out one here as well, because we did see because it's something that kind of pops in my head when a driver makes a mistake, gets a corner cut. Like, what goes through your mind per se when you get like a 3 seconds here? Do you have to try to change your driving style, or do you just say, I'm going to keep going regardless, and if they rack up, they rack up?
I just kept going. I literally didn't care anymore.
I guess true. You were 10 clear, so I think at some point you don't put your foot off the gas, but some probably, like, when they get it, they try to change their driving style so they don't rack up more.
Yeah,
so I'm just kind of wondering where you were going.
Yeah, I know where I was going, but the stupid thing is the track limits on this game are so inconsistent, because then you take like a big chunk and you don't get a warning, and then you go like with a millimeter off the white line, you get a penalty. So yeah, it's a bit of mixed feelings, to be honest.
I could imagine that as well, but I think that really was the only thing I like to ask sometimes afterwards, and I think I'm good. Luke, you got anything else you like to add?
No, that's it from me. Congratulations on your first podium of the season, Jarno.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And we're now going to hear from the man who claimed, as soon as we can get him into the commentary box, we're going to hear from the man who claimed his first victory of the season. Second podium, managed to get it on penalties this time around. It is Zuidema. Pretty good race from yourself. You kept it clean. You called the right strategy. Perfect day at the office.
Yeah, it was perfectly described, I guess. It was. I've done before the race. I wanted to check how much the tires were. So I knew with lap 1 safety car would be like mediums to the end. So I was just, well, not hoping, but because I've seen that I had the pace as well. But I knew immediately that was the strat to go with, and yeah, everybody else just managed to get pens or spin or have some kind of trouble. So I guess that's the basically my race.
Yeah, so it sounds like you were pretty prepared then, if there was an early safety car, that you would come in for a set of the medium tyres. Were you tempted to stay out there and see how things went?
No, not at all, really. Like I wasn't that prepared. Like, I've only done a few TT laps, and then I've done 5 laps on the softs and 5 laps on the mediums just to see the wear, and that was it. But yeah, I knew 100% I was going to pit.
Pepsi, do you have any questions for our race winner?
I do. I have two. I was gonna say, first of all, it does remind me of my old league racing days where I would sit there and do hot laps to try to figure out, or at least sessions to figure out tire wear, and that did win me a few races. But to go back to the point though, I do got two things. One, what was going through your mind when Neymar stayed out? Because he was ahead of you, I believe, and he decided to stay out, but you and the rest of the field came in. So what was going through your mind when he was staying out? Do you think like, oh no, I made the wrong strategy, or you were sticking to your guns? You're like, I got the right one, he's got the wrong one.
I was like, all right, he's out of the race. That was basically my thought, unless there was another safety car. But like at that point, I was like, all right, Neymar is not going to fight for the win anymore.
That's a smart mindset there. And the one other thing I do want to bring up here is looking at the standings. You are now the de facto leader in the point standings. Still a long way to go though. But something else worth noting is there are some, like I said, there are some fast drivers right around you, and there are some quick drivers as well that are a little bit lower in the standings as well. So with 8 races to go, it's way too early to think, oh, defensive mode. But how is this going to like be in the back of your mind a little bit going into week in and week out? Like, all right, I got to keep an eye on this driver, or are you just going to keep going no matter what?
I'll just focus race by race on my own and just try to get the max result out of every track, because I know I'm not the fastest anyway. So I'll just try to get the max result every week.
You sound like just me when I used to be driving. But yep, I think that takes care of everything from my end. Luke, anything else you need?
No, that's it from me. Congratulations on the victory, Zyderman, and congratulations on having the championship lead.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the comms.
Cheers. Goodbye. So
Cheers.
That's pretty much it then from this stream. And talking about, obviously, some of the tracks up ahead, let's get the calendar up for some of the other races this season. Next time around, it is the Spanish Grand Prix. Always a bit of a tricky track on the tyres, that one. Another one of those in real life, not the most exciting, but can produce some good racing on the F1 games.
Indeed, I think as well. I think some people call it pain. It calls it Spain without. Pain without the S. But worth noting as well, it's an all right track. I like it as well. And I think considering that sometimes you see the races that are pretty boring, like in real life, or that like great results. I think it's like France this year. I think it's going to be something that we'll have to wait and see on, but I think it could be a good race, and it's going to really test the drivers per se, especially with some of those corners with no traction. It may cause a few spinouts.
Yeah, certainly. There might be a few drivers who end up having a few issues. If you haven't got your fill of TTML action, do not fear. There is still plenty more to come. We've had F1, F2 and F3 tonight, and it is F4 and F5 tomorrow from 8 PM, also around the Italian circuit. There's also BNL racing at where the F1 is this weekend, Netherlands on Saturday and Sunday, and the Sim League on Sunday as well.
Sunday, same time. Yep, 8 PM.
BST, not 8 PM Central European time as BNL, so you get to watch one after the other. Get to see how all the drivers cope around there with no traction control, no anti-lock brakes, and no line, of course. The only no assist league here at CTML. That is pretty much it, though, for this stream. Thank you to all the drivers for the race. Thanks to those who joined us in the commentary box as well. Was much appreciated. Thanks to Pepsi for joining us in the comms. Thanks to you guys for watching as well. Apologies for the slight issues that we were having with the stream. Thankfully, they do seem to have sorted themselves out for the end of the race. And we'll see you same time, same place next week for the Spanish Grand Prix. But for myself and Pepsi, have a very good evening and goodbye.